Welcome back to another episode on our Scion FRS. We've been torturing your eardrums and ours long enough with the sound of this thing, so it's time to do some extreme tuning with Tomei. Before we get into the nitty-gritty of why we think this car sounds the way it does, let's fire it up and let you have a listen to it for yourself. You can also go and watch our video where we tested this on the track versus our K-Swap EK Civic. If you listen to the in-car footage of this, it just does not sound very good, but let's give you a quick sound test right now. All right, I don't know if I'm ready to hear this, but here it goes nothing. For a quick recap of what we have on the car right now, this is a JDL equal length long tube header, and it goes into a JDM overpipe with a cat in it, which no longer has a matrix in it anymore. We did some track testing in this car a couple months ago, and it was getting really hot, so hot that it blew out the gaskets on the header, and suddenly the exhaust note changed, and we're like, what is going on?
It's very, very quiet.
Yeah, it got really quiet, and it was down on power. I'm like, what is going on? Eventually, the light bulb went on, and we realized we've got a plug cat. Sure enough, we pulled this off, and the matrix had just completely disintegrated. There was almost no airflow through it. So we gutted it and continued with our track testing, and the car was much happier, and temps came way down. So that was a good thing. As for the rest of the exhaust system, if you come back here, we have a 3-inch AVO World exhaust. It's really more of a street system that we put this valve in it to quiet it down on the street. Was it an HKS valve? I can't remember where.
I think it was Apexi.
Apexi, that's who it was. We tried to run this during the Ontario 1500, and if you watched that series, which you should do if you haven't, it's really good, this valve failed on us and got jammed into the exhaust pipe. So overnight we had to cut the exhaust open and take the valve out and weld it back up again. That got exciting. You can see we've also had some contact with Mother Earth here, and she's an empty can now. The glass pack that would have been in here when it was new is completely gone because this thing has seen a million severe heat cycles at the racetrack. So that's definitely not helping with sound quality either. It is time to go full Tomei on this exhaust system, starting with their header. This is a stainless steel Extreme Power unequal length header. And the reason we've gone on unequal length is really twofold. One is the sound quality is very different with unequal length versus equal length. This will give it more of that Subaru rumble, that sort of the quintessential sound of a Subaru engine. And we think that may tone down the buzziness of the exhaust at higher RPM. We also like the fact that Tomei's design is very compact and will keep all of the heat of the header underneath the engine, where with our other header, sort of a long tube up into the engine bay, and we feel like that was heat soaking the engine bay a little bit. And to combat heat further, we're also going to use their bandage. This is designed specifically to wrap headers and exhausts with. And this will help trap heat in the exhaust and get it out the exhaust, out of the tailpipe. So we'll be wrapping everything up with that shortly. And for the rest of the system, we've gone full titanium with their super lightweight single exit 80R system. As the name would imply, it's all titanium construction. And look at the quality of the welds on this stuff,
I
PT.
know, wow.
It is next level. If it's not robotic welding, I applaud the human being who did welds this perfect, because it is truly a work of art. I mean, just look at this thing, man. The quality and the attention to detail on this system is truly next level. So
You should also talk about the value of it.
the value and the weight too. It only weighs 22 pounds. The stock system weighs 38 pounds, and our old system weighed about 31 pounds. So we're saving 16 pounds versus stock, 11 pounds versus our old system. So we are definitely saving weight. And this system only costs $1,090 US, which I think for titanium is kind of mind-blowing.
Yeah,
Like,
it's
that's
insane.
Tremendous value. So I think maybe that's enough words for now, Pete. Let's start by popping the header on there. Time for PT to get his flex on with some Extreme Ti exhaust bandage.
Extreme Titan.
Titan, that's true, Titan.
That's right. Come on, it's as JDM as it comes.
That is. And gotta say, this stuff is awfully nice to handle versus a lot of the other wraps we've used.
It is, yeah. It's softer, gentler, which
Yeah.
I know sounds odd, but it actually does make a difference. I mean, I feel like the quality of it is certainly, the weave is stronger too. Like when I pull on it, feels like it's gonna work a little bit better than the generic stuff out there. And instead of me trying to explain how to do this, Tomei has made literally one of the best videos that I've seen for wrapping exhaust.
It's extremely detailed.
It is.
Yeah.
So link in the right corner to that video.
DP, it looks like you're in on the action too.
Why not?
You needed to feel that bandage,
I
right?
needed some bandage in my
Tight
life.
bandage.
It's actually really interesting material. It's got quite a bit of stretch to it, so you can kind of like play with it as far as like loosening and tightening it as the pipe bends. But once you get it started, it's pretty easy to keep it nice and tight as you move down the pipe. So yeah, it's really nice stuff to work with. Bit of a job, Peter. It was fun though.
That was. It took a while.
I enjoyed bandaging. It was I think we were in that over an hour, but this style header is difficult to wrap. In a more traditional header, you'd have a much easier time. Sort of like I had with the overpipe, which I think if you look closely, everyone, you'll have to admit that I did an impeccable job on this. And by the way, look at the flange. They put their logo on the flange.
I know.
The detail.
Let's see if I can figure out a technique to slide the up pipe through. Oh, look at that!
Nice.
That was just like a full 360 we did there, but it is through. And I usually suggest doing that first because once you get the headers in place, they do tighten things up a little bit here. Oh man, DP, this looks good. I've got this, I can do this all myself.
Look at you go.
And I think what we're gonna end up having here is some really good heat management.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, compared to the JDL header that was up there.
Yeah.
And it actually didn't have any of this section wrapped. And oh, the other thing that we should mention is Tomei said the heat wrap also helps in terms of oil temperatures, which was pretty interesting because I've never actually thought of that. But as you can see, if you've got headers that are unwrapped here, you're pumping a ton of heat into your oil pan. Here we have Tomei's 3-inch joint pipe. It is, of course, full of titanium goodness. One of the best things that I really love about most of the Tomei products is that they come with everything included. So it's a full complete kit. It's got high quality metal gaskets. They actually even included studs for this side of the pipe, which is really, really awesome. Makes this install so much easier in that way. So we're gonna bolt this up now. One of the big reasons I chose this system was because of the large resonator. This should definitely help with that drone and noise that's associated with 3-inch systems. Final piece here is our Tomei muffler. There we are, up it goes. It's got a really pretty cool hanger system here that actually has nothing welded onto the muffler, which is pretty neat. So you just pop it in on one side, I think like that. Pop it in on the second side here. And we are in. And now we can make some adjustments here to where this whole system is gonna fit. And that's the reason why we haven't done up any of our slip joints yet, because now we can play and tweak and try to get everything perfect.
We are looking good under here. Everything's been tightened down. We should mention that these slip fit arrangements with the springs to hold the joints together is one of the ways that Tomei kept the weight of the system down, because the flanges that you would normally use are much heavier than a slip fit arrangement like this. So that's one of the advantages of the system. You can also see it as a very straight flow path. So they went to great lengths to make sure they kept this as straight a flow path as they could as part of their commitment to making this their like racing version. As you can see, it fits extremely well. It's up tight to the chassis. I should also mention in the resonator, they use a wool strand packing, which is apparently a lot more durable than the more typical fiberglass packing. So this should do its job to dampen sound a lot longer than a cheaper fiberglass pack
Like
version
our
would do.
AVO one, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think it was probably fiberglass packed, but and that means the last thing we have to do is install our carbon bumper cover, which is designed to cover up the exhaust tip opening on the passenger side. So we will mount that up, and we'll get onto some sound clips with the silencer in and out.
And is the last bolt. Look at that.
Yeah, looks nice.
Pure goodness.
So much carbony goodness
It does look good, and if you compare it now with the Tomei exhaust, it's like it was meant to be single exit.
Yes.
All you track guys, take note. Look at this. This is an aero feature as well. Man, we've got it all here.
Oh, what about this hole up here, though, buddy?
Well,
what's that about?
the guys that had this car before us, they lost this. And this is probably like a $5 part, but we just haven't gotten around to buying it because it gives it more of a race car look.
Well, it's lightning.
Yeah,
Lightning.
sure. We'll call it that. Okay, so exhaust system is on. Everything's ready to go. We're going to try to put the diffuser up, but I can already tell there's going to be some serious cutting needing to be done because the previous exhaust system was more of a factory style, which is what the diffuser kind of accepts. Now we've got a canister, so we'll see how this goes. Dave and I have been looking at this, and even if we do cut that section out, the position of the muffler against the diffuser here is always going to create this weird bow in this area, and I just don't feel it's going to look right.
No,
it's kind of going to
like
look janky.
curved on
It's going to
one
be like
side.
that, and that's really what you don't want a diffuser to do or look like. So we are officially going to say goodbye to our driveway lab splitter.
It's now time to find out if all that wrenching was worth it in terms of sound quality. I'm gonna turn this thing on. Wow, what a difference that made. It is so much quieter at idle. I don't know how well you can tell from the video or not, but that hollow, tinny, raspy sound that it had at idle and when revving is just completely gone.
Yeah, it doesn't hurt your ears as much. It doesn't shriek.
Yeah, it's not a piercing note anymore. It's got a really deep rumble to it. I really like it. When you get on the throttle, it still screams, and it according to Tomei's documentation, this makes 104 dB without the silencer. So this is their optional version 2 silencer. As you can see, it's like 2 silencers in one. There's an inner piece, which a little pea shooter hole in it. Then you can take that out, and you'll have the larger diameter tube as your silencer. So we're gonna try both of these out now and see how much quieter it gets. In pea shooter mode, I will say it's much, much quieter inside the car. How did it sound outside?
I mean, it sounds okay. It's definitely a pea shooter style sound.
It
I think.
loses that deep
Yeah,
rumble.
it's because you're trying to cram all that air through that tiny little hole,
Yeah.
so it reduces the sound tremendously. But in terms of sound, it's not something that I'd rate high.
But if you're cruising on the highway,
Oh,
driving in
I
the
think
city,
for city driving, it's perfect.
yeah, this will keep you out of trouble with the police, I would say. And in the cabin, it was just quiet, so very livable setup, I think, for the street. And then pull it out of the racetrack and go make that real aggressive sound. Before I install the even smaller pea shooter, we should quickly mention that Tomei's instructions specify that you need to add 2 more holes to secure the main silencer in the exhaust tip. We haven't done that because this is a race car. We trailer it now, so we'll probably not be running the silencer unless we go and run some kind of a street event, in which case we'll drill 2 more holes and bolt it up properly. But for testing purposes, we just use the 1 bolt. And this guy has a nice threaded hole in it already, which you can see will line up with
I'm super eager to see what this sounds like because this is like next level.
This is. I've never seen a silencer
Small
this aggressive.
silencer.
So let me just make sure I'm lining up the hole. Well, that's how it sounds with the extra small pea shooter in there. It sounds like an unequal length air pump. All I can hear inside is just like at idle. It's super quiet. And then when you rev it, it does sound very, I don't know, it just doesn't have that
It's
deep
not
tone
bad,
anymore.
though.
No,
Like, I don't think
okay?
it's. Yeah, I didn't think it was that awful back here. So
Well, you don't expect the
impressed with it.
silencer to improve sound quality, but it didn't sound bad to me, and at least it's ultra quiet at idle, and I assume it would be very quiet cruising. So
it's kind of like having a stock exhaust, except the whooshing out of it.
yeah, and maybe I was hearing the supercharger too because the exhaust was so quiet. Anyway, this gives you a lot of tunability with the sound of your exhaust system with this setup, whether you want ultra quiet, medium quiet, or wake the neighbors.
And it's the best of both worlds. So for the track guys that want to run a light single exhaust system like this one, they can at the racetrack get the full performance out of it.
Yeah.
Then slap that in and cruise down this street without getting any tickets.
Yeah, no, I think it's a great setup, and I think that is a wrap on this Tomei Everything Exhaust video. We should mention this was not a paid advertisement. We just like stuff that fits well, that's built well, that sounds good. This really does cure one of my biggest annoyances with this car, and it was always that the exhaust just didn't sound good. So I'm really stoked to get this car to the racetrack and hear it at a wide open throttle, hear from in the cockpit, hear Pete ripping some laps in it too. Stay tuned for that coming up soon, and be sure to go check out speedacademy.shop for swag, for hard parts. We may even be able to sell you a Tomei exhaust system if you ask very nicely.